In Haiti, members of the Living Together criminal group attacked the Bernard Mepps hospital in the capital of the country. Human rights organization known as Euromed Human Rights Monitor denounced that Israel is committing urban massacres in Gaza. Russian Federal Security Service confirmed the arrest of the perpetrator of the terrorist attack that assassinated General Igor Kirillov and his assistant. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Haiti, members of the Living Together criminal group attacked the Bernard Mepps hospital in the capital of the country. The hospital suffered major damage caused by Molotov cocktails, which hit the facilities. Authorities report that the criminal group destroyed rooms, installations, and equipment. In this context, national and local authorities strongly condemned the attack. In addition, they designated the Haitian National Police to be there. The latter has been provided with resources to operate on a permanent basis to reinforce the hospital's security. Authorities assure that they will put the criminal groups out of action, as people has been criticizing the government for not having taken measures to prevent the attack on time. In Venezuela, representatives of the Comandante Hugo Chavez Foundation inaugurate a hall in homage to the first meeting between Hugo Chavez Fria and the leader of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro Ruz. The ceremony took place within the framework of the celebration of the 30th anniversary of this historic moment. On the same occasion, the newspaper La Esperanza está en la calle was presented, which gathers hundreds of local and national press clippings from 1994 on Commander Hugo Chavez. This selection is the result of an extensive research carried out by historian Lucas Corner, who highlighted the love of the Venezuelan people for Commander Chavez and underlined the importance of keeping his memory alive to strengthen and expand the Bolivarian revolution towards the world.
The commemoration of the death of the liberator brings us together first, and in the framework of this date, we remember that it was precisely 30 years ago, and for that very reason that Commander Chavez traveled to Havana for the first time, and that first meeting took place. That first embrace between Commander Chavez and Commander Fidel Castro, and to pay tribute to a moment that was decisive for what was to be later the course of the history of our America today, we open the doors of a small but emotional room called the First Embrace, and is dedicated to the love relationship between Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro that begins with that embrace.
Well, hope in the street is a slogan of the commander which came out. Even when he returned to the street, that was the slogan that went out everywhere. People started to paint hope is in the street. Because Chavez at that time said that the salvation of the people, it was not in Rafael Caldera, it was not in Miraflores. He said, I am not going to Miraflores. I'm going to the catacombs of the people. I'm going to build a revolution together with the people.
In Colombia, the Quinta de Bolívar Museum commemorated the 194th anniversary of the passing to immortality of the liberator Simón Bolívar in the city of Bogotá. The commemorative act was attended by the diplomatic representation of Venezuela created in Colombia, members of the Advisory Commission of Foreign Relations, and of the National Congress. Likewise, authorities commemorate the legacy of the liberator with a floral tribute, remembering also his influence in the unity and integration of Latin America, which brought justice, emancipation, and self-determination to the peoples. In this sense, participants highlight the important role played by Venezuela in the peace of the Colombian country and made a call to abandon the polarization that separates the sister nations.
Venezuela has played a very important role historically. This is not of today. Venezuela has accompanied many attempts at peace since practically the 90s and has always been very firm. It has played a fundamental role today as guarantor at the dialogue table in good times and in bad, in crises, and when things are going well. So all our gratitude to this place, to this commitment, and to this vocation for peace.
That is why I call on us to leave ideological polarization aside, to understand that the relationship between countries is not managed by governments, but by states. That is why they are permanent. That is why in some way they have no ideological sign or political color, nor do they obey any tribe. So that the invitation we make from here in the Quinta de Bolívar as we call it in Bogota, to look for the things that unite us and work on a special relationship between Colombia and Venezuela.
Also in Bolivia, the Chamber of Deputies commemorate the 194th anniversary of the passing to immortality of the liberator Simón Bolívar. Through the legislature, Gloria Callisaya, Secretary of the Committee of Ordinary Jurisdiction, the country paid homage with floral offerings or highlighted the legacy of unity and struggle for independence led by liberator Bolívar and Latin American peoples. The organization of the event was carried out by the Embassy of Venezuela in the country with the presence of military and police authorities, as well as diplomatic representatives and other authorities. And we have now a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Panama, the Manuel Amador Art Gallery presents, as it does every year, the annual exhibition in homage to the victims of the United States invasion of the country on December 20th, 1989. The Art Gallery annually holds between 14 and 16 exhibitions dedicated to commemorating the U.S. invasion, in addition to paying tribute to the victims of this aggression. This year's exhibition includes, for the first time, images presented by the December 20th Commission on the exhumation carried out in 2020 and 2021 to try to find the bodies of the disappeared who are presumed to have been buried in mass graves of the invading army. The gallery celebrates 30 years of management, making these exhibitions in tribute to the fallen at the hands of the U.S. government. And the 22nd edition of the series of conversations Cuba and U.S. foreign policy was held in Havana. With the participation of the Cuban Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carlos Fernández de Cosio, the Forum for Dialogue on Relations between Havana and Washington was inaugurated. In this context, the minister stated that Cuba is willing to negotiate with the United States in search of a relationship based on respect for sovereignty and non-interference in internal affairs. He also added that despite the pressures from the U.S. government, they would not be able to bend the will of the Cuban people.
The U.S. government has caused much harm to the people of Cuba and continues to do so, and may cause even greater harm in the years to come. The goal of mercilessly harming the people of Cuba can be achieved, since the U.S. government is a powerful government and has the destructive capacity to cause such harm. What it will not be able to do is to achieve the objective of bending the will of the Cubans. Our will. It has not been able to do so until now, and it will not be able to do so.
And in the rural area of La Huac, Mexico City, most of an edible herb known as romerito is produced and forms part of a representative dish of the Christmas dinner. This year, a series of floods put part of the crop at risk. Let's see more details.
Don Gustavo has been a fruit and vegetable merchant for 45 years. He knows that during the Christmas season, his customers are looking for fresh romerito to prepare it with mole for Christmas dinner. Mr. Gustavo explains that the romerito has not become more expensive for this season because the supply of this product is abundant.
Debido a que el abasto de este producto es abundante.
The
price of romerito is currently good. It is difficult for it to go up or down 2 or 3 days before it even goes down when there is a lot. But there are times when it is scarce, and then the price of the product is even double 2 or 3 days before. It is the law of supply and demand. This time it will not be like that, because there is a lot in the central supply center. You can see trucks with a lot of romerito.
Don Gustavo reconoce que los romeritos.
Don Gustavo recognizes that romeritos, a classic dish on the capital's tables during Christmas dinner, remains but is losing ground to other options.
¿Sigue siendo una tradición en las mesas mexicanas?
Sí, todavía bastante.
Is Romerito still a tradition in the Mexican tables? Yes, it is still quite a lot. Not like before, it used to be sold in huge quantities by the bundle. Now we are bringing 20, 30 kilograms, but before we used to sell 2 or 3 bundles of 60 kilograms. 10 to 15 years ago, we used to sell a lot of Romerito.
Lo que se vendía, mucho romerito.
Para algunos capitalinos,
For some people in the capital, romeritos are a must on their Christmas table, and they are buying them in advance.
The price is maintained, always fresh above all, always with good quality. At home with my grandparents, we always used to eat romeritos, then with my parents, and now here at home.
a principios de octubre pasado,
In early October, unusual rains flooded 22 hectares of romeritos in Mexico City, putting the crop at risk. The local government supported the producers.
We are fulfilling the commitment of the head of government, and on her behalf we are delivering seed so that this productive agricultural cycle is not lost and that in December we will have romeritos. We know the importance of romeritos for the area. Mexico City is the #1 producer of romeritos at the national level.
para este 2024,
By 2024, production is expected to exceed 130 tons, thus guaranteeing supply. The joint effort between the local government and the producers of the rural area of the Tláhuac municipality made it possible to rescue dozens of hectares that were affected by atypical rains during October, thus avoiding a shortage of romerito during the Christmas season.
Antonio Aranda, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, in a letter sent Tuesday to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, 20 Democratic lawmakers urged the administration of President Joe Biden to halt the transfer of offensive weapons to Israel. The congressman called on Washington to respect its own laws restricting military aid to countries that commit war crimes and blocking U.S.-backed humanitarian aid, as the Israeli government has not complied with U.S. requests for more aid to enter Gaza. Furthermore, continuing to transfer offensive weapons to the Israeli government prolongs the suffering of the Palestinian people. The pressure is unlikely to change the course of Biden and Blinken, who are fierce supporters of Israel, but it underscores the persistent progressive pressure on the U.S. administration regarding its Middle East policies. And the President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, returned to threaten undocumented immigrants, this time in his most recent statements, where he affirmed that he will eliminate birthright citizenship. From New York, our correspondent Henry Camelo with details.
Restricting immigration at any cost, even through fear, is what experts believe the most recent statements made by Donald Trump in his first interview after being elected president to the NBC channel, where he ratified his promise to eliminate birthright citizenship.
You promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution automatically grants citizenship to anyone born in the country, even if their parents are not citizens. For legal scholars, the path to eliminating birthright citizenship will be difficult, but not impossible.
He would have to get a supermajority in both chambers. He would need at least 38 of the 50 states in the nation to approve that change, and that is very difficult. It is not impossible, but it is very difficult.
Something that worries undocumented mothers of children born in the country.
Well, that's not right, because his family, where he comes from, was also an immigrant. What is he talking about? I don't think it's right.
I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way not to break up the family is to keep them together, and you have to send them all back.
Donald Trump es un racista.
Donald Trump is a racist.
Las políticas que él hizo en su primer...
The policies he made in his first term as president, and also the proposals he made during his campaign, are racist proposals.
Son propuestas racistas basadas en una exclusión.
Based on an exclusion, and an idea of who really belongs and deserves to be here, and who does not.
Y merece estar acá y quién no.
According to legal experts, fear seems to be Trump's strategy to get immigrants to return to their countries voluntarily.
His main weapon is not really what happens, but the feeling it creates, the feeling of fear, the feeling of panic. He knows the fragility, the emotional delicacy of immigrants.
Therefore, the call is to remain calm and united.
It is not very likely that he will achieve that, but what he does achieve is to damage the relationship between immigrants and the people who live here.
Trump will once again be up against the ropes, since eliminating birthright citizenship, according to jurists, is something very difficult to do. So we will see what will be his trick up his sleeve as of January 20th.
Pablo Daniel Ho y Henry Camelo, teleSUR, Nueva York.
The human rights organization known as Europe-Med Human Rights Monitor denounced that Israel is committing urban massacres in Gaza. The organization denounces that the tactics employed in Gaza by Israeli troops, ranging from air bombardments, robot explosives, and bulldozers demolishing residents, have reduced entire towns in the Palestinian enclave to rubble. Jabalia, Beit Lahaya, and Beit Hanun in the north of the Strip have been completely razed to the ground. The agency asserts that what Israel is trying to do is to raise the Palestinian material and cultural presence, thus reiterating a clear violation of international law. And Norway has formally requested that FIFA investigate Israel over allegations of human rights violations related to its military actions in Gaza. The Norwegian Football Association is urging FIFA to hold Israel accountable for its treatment of Palestinian athletes and the broader impact of the ongoing conflict on sports. This request follows Norway's recognition of the Palestinian state and reflects growing international concern regarding Israel's actions. In response, FIFA is considering the formation of an independent panel to assess these claims. The outcome of these investigations will have significant implications for both Israeli and Palestinian participation in global sporting events. And the UN Security Council called for an inclusive political process in Syria and respect for the country's sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity. The organization advocates that Syrians themselves should control the process. UN Special Envoy Geir Pedersen urged action against terrorism, a striking issue considering that several member countries are in talks with a self-proclaimed leader registered as a global terrorist. China, Russia, and Iran reiterated the importance of abiding by all Council resolutions, the 1974 agreements, and support for the UN forced to observe the disengagement and the implementation of its mandate in the Syrian Gulf. The Russian government warns about the criminal nature of the Ukraine government, which recently murdered Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, murder which, according to Russian authorities, will not go unpunished. This was stated by the president of the Russian State Duma, Vyacheslav Volodin, who promised to inflict a deserved punishment on those responsible for the murder of the Russian general. Volodin warned about the criminality of Ukraine, which he described as a terrorist state led by Nazis. The general's death came after a device hidden on a motorcycle exploded as he and his assistants were leaving a block of apartments on Tuesday morning, shortly after the event. The Ukrainian government claimed responsibility for the assassination, calling it an intelligence operation. Meanwhile, the Russian Federal Security Service has captured the author of the terrorist attack that assassinated General Igor Kirillov. The perpetrator is a citizen of Uzbekistan who was arrested in the Kirillov town in the outskirts of the capital. The terrorist confessed that the Ukrainian intelligence offered him $100,000 and legal residence in a country of the European Union. The hitman further detailed he had received the device in Moscow, adding that he was transmitting his action directly to Kiev with a Wi-Fi camera. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.